How did you get into content writing and content strategy?
I have a terrible heartbreak. I was absolutely destroyed, heartbroken. When your life is kind of over, there's nothing to lose, right? If you're going to be heartbroken, at least make money out of it, I guess.
You said most people treat content like a slot machine and then they post and pray.
Every single post is a step closer to you finding content market fit, because the idea isn't just to throw spaghetti to the wall, post things because the influencer that has 500,000 followers did it, your friend did it.
How did you getting into the habit of writing good content?
Dunning-Kruger Effect, the peak of Mount Stupid. Your confidence is a lot higher than someone who actually knows more than you.
Most of these popular so-called posts in LinkedIn that gather 700 likes or 300 comments are not translating into conversions for their revenue pipeline.
100%. A post that is easy to comment on, it's so basic and broad that it's so surface level. No one is going to remember you. LinkedIn now is the number 2 most cited source for LLMs, which is absolutely insane.
Today, my guest is Diandra Escobar. She's the co-founder of the content marketing agency Distinctiva. She has managed more than 50 heavyweight brands like SEMrush, Backlinko, and Heyreach. She's a content strategist helping SaaS teams and B2B founders turn content into a real demand engine. She's one of the clear-minded and insightful thinkers I've come across. She shares actionable frameworks for founders to start and execute better content strategy for their business. In this very special conversation, we chat about finding your voice as a founder, building momentum writing content, and why chasing viral posts are a poor man's fallacy. We also touch on how beginners can have an unfair advantage in their content game, how to use systems for consistent writing instead of just relying on motivation, and so much more that this is just scratching the surface of this very deep and insightful conversation. Now on to the show.
Hey Diandra, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the podcast.
Happy to. Thank you for inviting me.
It's my pleasure. I've been following your work on LinkedIn, and a lot of these things that you talk about, apart from other people that I've been following, you are very open about how you handle your content, the strategy, and everything. That's what I thought I'll talk more about today so that our audience can learn more about the content strategy and all those things in detail. Before going into the heavy stuff and all the strategy, I wanted to understand how did you get into this very difficult creative works of content writing and content strategy in the first place?
Well, I was kind of thrown into it. I did not say, oh, my dream is to become a content strategist. Never really thought about that. I had an internship in Paris. I was in sales. So I was an SDR, cold calling, cold emailing, a lot of sales oriented tasks. I was also like the right hand of the CEO. Very intern vibes, you're doing a little bit about everything. Sometimes I had to buy the flower pot to decorate the office. Another moment I was sending 50 cold emails to bring in clients, like very internship vibes. I'm Colombian, so I had never been to Europe. It was my first time in Europe. I was in Paris learning French. Like, you just start your career and you have no idea where life's going to take you. Never planned in being a marketer. I thought I was going to be more in like business, sales, maybe like account manager that goes up to like VP of sales. Like I thought my route was more through sales because of what I had studied in the university here in Medellin, Colombia. But life happens and I met someone that was posting on LinkedIn and he was doing super well on LinkedIn. He I slowly started seeing that there was a community building here, that a lot of huge professionals with big businesses, executives were building a presence on LinkedIn and they were one making money out of it. They were building their personal brands and I thought that was super cool, but I never thought that was something for me. I was like, I'm just a random SDR out there. I have no idea what I'm doing. I was very inspired by this person. Then time passes by and I get another job as an SDR in another company. Again, cold calling, cold email. Like it was a lot of sales, very tough, very hard. And then I was like, okay, why don't I start posting about SDR things? Like what strategies I'm doing to get more open rates, what strategies I'm doing to book more calls. I was sending like more videos instead of just messages because that was kind of like something that people wouldn't expect and they would answer my email, all this psychology driven sales tactics I was trying to get into. And I meet someone in a networking event. And this person really, really liked my mindset around business, content, and sales, even though I was really just starting out posting on LinkedIn. Some posted well. I was actually more driven into like the sales community than the marketing and content marketing community, which is where I'm at right now. And this person told me like, "Please, can you work with us? Like, I really, really want you to work with us." I was kind of like young, just starting my career, and I was like, I don't know if I should like leave the company that I'm working at right now to start working with you guys. It's just and he was like, please, please, please. 4 months come in. He's messaging me every single month. And the reality of the story is I have a terrible heartbreak. Because what people don't really tell you around their successes is that sometimes it has to do a lot with your personal life and what's going on with you. And not only it's because like, oh my God, I'm so smart and I thought about posting on LinkedIn or this and that. I was absolutely destroyed, heartbroken. I felt like my heart was going to come out of my soul and something like terrible, like movie-like heartbreak, like my life is over. So, when your life is kind of over, quote unquote, there's nothing to lose, right? You're like, "Why was I scared of saying yes to this guy that has, like, an amazing company and wants to hire me?" Like, there's nothing to lose. So, I have a conversation with him. He tells me, like, "Do you actually like sales? Do you like being an SDR?" And I was like, You know what I really like? I love more of, like, community growth, like, marketing." Not specifically did I tell him content, but I was like, "I actually think I'm more on this side." And he's like, "Well, we'll create you a role around that." And I was like, "Is this a movie? Like, this is not how usually you're, like, begging to have a job." And he was telling me, like, "I'll create any role you want. Like, you just like, I really, really, really want you to work with us." Again, I'm completely blessed, and I have that advantage in life that person saw that potential in me and really wanted me to work with him. So to make the story a bit less long, what happens after that is I start working with him. I get like community growth title and I start going all in on LinkedIn with my profile and with theirs. So I was the one ghostwriting for them. I was ghostwriting all their posts. I was strategizing everything. I was doing the engagement and right now, today, they are some of the biggest LinkedIn influencers out there in their space. They've built a 300K MRR business thanks to their personal brands because 80 to 90% of their inbound leads comes through their personal brand. And I was there behind everything. Like I would ghostwrite every single post. I would engage. I work with our designers to create the design. I started building trends within LinkedIn. But of course, because you're ghostwriting, no one has any idea that it's actually you. But I did start building my own brand on the side of that. Then I get fired from this SEO agency, not in a bad way, but in a sense of they didn't have the budget to keep paying me, things were going down, they were having, issues between co-founders, fights that always make a company kind of, like, shake, and they had to let go of the easiest person to let go, usually within companies, which is sad, but marketing. But this person really believed in me. He's like, "I don't wanna let you go, but we really need to. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start recommending you to a big community of founders about your like, because you literally built our personal brands. It's where we're getting the money, but we can't keep paying you what you deserve to earn. We would have to pay you a lot less." I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Got a bunch of inbound leads, started freelancing, been doing this now for like 2 years, 3. Got my first client, got my second client, got my third, my fourth, my fifth, my 10th. I hired a designer, hired a writer, hired a strategist, hired a video editor, hired a head of operations. Now I have an agency somehow.
All uphill from that one, Heartbreak, and then now you're here.
If you're gonna be
It's a
heartbroken,
great
at least make money out of it, I guess.
I think it's an incredible, story, and a story one of optimism also, right? How, not all things are bad, and how things can turn out for good if you have the right mindset. Uh, One thing I wanted to also ask you during this journey, right? When did you figure out, how did you even cultivate getting into the habit of writing good content, right? There is a very real difference between what is an average content that you write, and then that's something that speaks to you, right? You only a great content writer, content artist, I would say, can differentiate between the two. How did you become one of that? Because the posts that you see are all incredible.
So there's something called the Dunning-Kruger Effect curve. And something that happens when you know nothing about something is what he calls the peak of Mount Stupid. So your confidence is a lot higher than someone who actually knows more than you. Why? Because you don't know about these things. You easily can test, iterate, try, and see the best out of everything that maybe someone that is so locked in their mindset that I'm a professional and I know more than this and I can't do it doesn't. Reason why so many real subject matter experts, real founders, people that are actually putting their hands in the dough don't post because they've gotten into that curve effect where they're in the valley of despair where they actually know a lot of things or but they don't really have the confidence to put it out there. So something that helped me a lot was I was in the Mount of Stupid. I was literally in Mount Stupid because I was just starting out with this. Someone told me build my strategy, my LinkedIn personal brand strategy, and I was like, yeah, why not? I can do that. Like easy. So what I did was what I was really good at was extracting their genius. Because I wasn't the genius. I was just a ghostwriter. I was just a strategist. I was just the one building their content presence. But the genius was what they had internally that they never used for content. So I went internally into their Notion internal docs, all the SOPs. I hopped on call with the subject matter experts because it was an SEO agency. So I was speaking to all the SEOs within the company, getting their frameworks, getting their strategies, understanding how things work. Things that have become like so normal for them because they're experts and they forget that is super useful for people out there. I was in there extracting and mining all that gold and those diamonds to show it to the world and to sell it to the world in the form of content, which they were never good at because they were just used to it in their day to day. So I became super good at that. And I would mine all the internal docs, all the SOPs, all the sales calls to create a content strategy, to put it out there in the world. And I was also very good at what a lot of people call stealing like an artist, which is coming in and inspiring me by other brands that were doing it very well. So always in other people's posts, other profiles, understanding how the algorithm worked, researching what did well, what were the outliers, and starting to build upon that to create a strategy for these people. So, how was I good at creating really good content? I think I was confident enough, not in let's say myself, but more of them because I saw them as such big experts that I was like, why aren't we posting about this? Why aren't we sharing this? Why aren't we creating these frameworks? Why aren't we showcasing this? Because people become so, oh, yeah, this is just normal. And they forget all the golds that they have internally to share to the world to create good content. And I was really good at that. And that's how, in my opinion, I managed to create really, really good content out of their profiles.
So you had the beginner advantage. So you use that as an opportunity to learn. So one thing that I'd like to learn, extending to that, is now that you are an expert, right? So you've been there for years. Now, how do you go back to revisiting a topic and write it like a, a beginner so that it speaks to the right audience? Do you have any mental models around that? How do you go about it?
So the good thing about the Dunning-Kruger effect is that you don't stay in peak of Mount Stupid or in the valley of despair forever. you slowly start going into the slope of like enlightenment and some sort of plateau of sustainability. So you're not either like a beginner with like overly confidence, and you're not either a very competent person with low confidence that they're able to do these things. You become more of like what a real guru should be, with confidence, confident with your strategy, confident with your things. Why? Because you've already tested it. So in my case, I've managed more than 50 personal brands. I've worked with some of the biggest SaaS companies out there, SEMrush, billion-dollar company, Heyreach just hit 10 million ARR, Backlinko, huge case studies of some. I'm friends with the biggest LinkedIn influencers out there, so I literally have coffee with these people in their home talking about LinkedIn strategy, content strategies. My business partner is incredibly amazing go-to marketing strategist, which we're building another business together. So now I'm not that beginner, right? That is kind of like guessing and made it through. But neither am I that expert that is still not confident in there. I've managed to go into the actual like plateau of sustainability because I put myself out there and I tested it. And now I can feel confident that I know what I'm doing because I managed to go through that curve. And we all have to go through that curve with different things in in life. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to go back through that curve. I might right now we're working on YouTube strategies, and we're going through that curve as well. I'm building my own YouTube channel. We've built it for other clients, but I've never built it for myself, which is always very different because it's a completely different strategy. So I have to go through that curve again. I have to go like it's normal for us to have to go and start from beginner to actual experienced guru and quote unquote if you want to call it like that. So I think it's just really putting yourself out there to the point where you have the confidence, not because you're a beginner, but because you've actually managed to do it and you have case studies to back yourself and you've actually tried. But that's what content market fit is. It's the same thing when you're building a product. How do you find product market fit? You keep iterating, you keep building more tools, you keep finding your positioning, you keep finding a way until finally you know that your market will buy your product because it's exactly what they need. But you're not going to get there in one day. You need to slowly go through the curve to be able to find content market fit, which is in this case what we're talking about, which is like how do you create content in that way?
Okay, content market fit. So as you write more, you get the confidence, and then as you iterate more, you see what reflects more with the audience, and then you get an understanding of what works, and you continue to shape your content. Is that right?
Exactly. Exactly.
As we were talking before, what you said really struck me, and I noted it down. You said most people treat content like a slot machine, and then they post and pray. Uh, can you tell me more about that? And how can what are the best practices in not to do that?
Yeah. So right there, that is exactly what we were talking about before, which is content market fit. You need to try that every single post is a step closer to you finding content market fit. Because the idea isn't just to throw spaghetti to the wall, post things because the influencer that has 500,000 followers did it, because your friend did it, because like we are finding our own content market fit that will be completely different for a founder that has a massive logo behind them, which will be very different to a early stage startup. So every single step you take is you trying to get closer and closer to content market fit because or else it's going to be super hard. Content is going to be a nightmare. And how do we do that? I like creating two different strategies in one, which is media mentality and building a good content funnel. So, what is media mentality? A media mentality is that you are going to be flexible. You're going to have enough resources internally to be able to try different formats. What are different formats? Video, text, carousels, images, all the types of formats that exist in different channels. You're going to be able to have that media mentality to be able to iterate because exactly like a good product team is fast at deploying changes and fixing bugs and listening to customer feedback to build a new feature in a different way for them, same you should be with content. You saw that your audience felt more connected and understood better the point and the narrative you're trying to give through one format, then let's keep doing this format. But maybe we can repurpose that into another format to keep saying the narrative. So, one, huge on having a media mentality to be able to test and iterate different formats. And two, building a content funnel. So, the content funnel I like is growth content, 30%, authority content, 30%, then 20 to 30% as well conversion content. And then if you are that type of person, which I honestly like, because if you're building a community, people want to know about what's going on in your life, especially if we're talking about a personal brand on LinkedIn, is personal content. So those are the things you can say, like, hey, this happened internally. We managed to do this within the team, and that's where people will applaud. They'll see what's up with your life because it's still human to human content. So what growth content does is it brings a broader audience. It's a bit more of like those algorithm plays, things that the algorithm likes more, things that are a bit more broad, that can bring you more eyeballs, that have more virality potential. Then your authority content is that content that might be a bit harder to make, but you got to make because or else you're gonna be doing that. You're gonna be going viral but getting no results. So you actually have to tell people like why you. So you go through a framework, you do something very specific, you record yourself doing a loom explaining step by step. You showcase a logo that you work with and why they work with you. So everything that actually makes you an authority. Hot takes. Then we have conversion content is actually bringing in the clients. This will maybe be even less viral, or has less potential to be viral. But again, our strategy isn't to be viral. It's just so you kind of understand the mindset between the different funnels. So conversion content is more like really, really specific case studies, asking for the sale, being out there and being like, this is what I offer. And then personal content can be more of like your life and this. This is for like a LinkedIn funnel, but these can easily be worked around different channels as well. It depends on the channel. But again, don't treat LinkedIn like a slot machine. Think it as you would think of a product deployment. You have a content system in Notion, a framework, you have a consistent time you're posting, you have a dedicated content funnel and strategy, you have a media mentality. Like, you really have to think about this as something that is like machine, that's structured, that can easily go from having raw materials into actually shipping into a final product. Because or else content will be a nightmare, you'll burn out. The first month, everyone in the company is happy. Oh, let's create content. Yeah, I'm super excited. I also want to do LinkedIn. 2 months come in, no one, the content never worked. They created a beautiful content strategy deck with 500 slides that they presented to the CEO because we're going to kill it with content this year. 2026 is the year, and nothing happened.
I really love that, and there is so much that I want to get into as you talked about content market fit. So, is this how we have to think about it? You talked about these variables, which is the media format, being a carousel, being a video or an image or a GIF. Try it out with different formats, and then also have a mix of. You also gave a mix of what kind of content format they can be. They can be authoritative content. They can be growth content. So, do I vary the percentage of the content formats in these media formats? Is that how I try it out and find my own mix?
Yeah. So finding content market fit will always be thinking like a scientist. So, what does a scientist do? A scientist has a hypothesis. I think that if I give this rat this medicine, the rat will live longer, right? That's my hypothesis. I think that's going to happen. What do you do next? You actually test it, right? You have the hypothesis, you test it out, they get the result. Okay, what were the results in the lab after I did this? Did it work or not? Is it closer to what I think? Am I further away from what I actually thought? Now it's time to iterate. So that's exactly how you should think about content. You should think about content like a scientist thinks of all the different scientific, discoveries that they do. So again, you mix and match between content formats and content types. So content form types, if you are just starting out, for example, the percentages that I've given you are different. Maybe instead of doing 30% growth, you do 50% growth because you're just starting out and you have very little followers. So you really need to play a more growth game before you build an authority game, which you shouldn't stop playing the authority game. Never, never don't play the authority game or else you become one of those fluffluencers that post the most generic AI 10 tips to change your business. And yes, they go viral, but we have no idea behind the bank if they have money or not. So never leave the authority content, but maybe you need to uptake a little bit more the growth content. So the reach plays, the industry commentary, being able to bring more people to your world. So we're going to boost it up a little bit to 40, 50%. Then the authority, like I mentioned, let's say, okay, instead of 30%, we're going to do 20%. And then the conversion, because in this moment, our goal isn't having that many conversions. We care more about brand awareness. We care more about actually getting people to know who I am, what my brand does. I don't really care about closing right now. I want to play the brand awareness game right now, which happens because some companies are doing extremely well with the money that it's entering, so they're not, like, super focused on the conversion content, they want more of the brand awareness. So maybe they reduce the conversion content from 20% to, like, 10%, that's it, right? So and then the personal, maybe someone tells me, like, "You know what, Deandra? I do not care about being personal. I will never be personal. I don't wanna talk about my life or anything that has to do with me." Fine, it works. I literally know LinkedIn influencers that have big businesses. They barely say anything about themselves, and that's completely fine. Some others are a bit more personal. They talk about it and they've built more of a community around it. There's no right or wrong answer. But what you want to do is you want to be a good content scientist that knows the possibilities. You're not closing yourself to the possibilities that exist. You're not closing yourself and saying, no, I'm only going to do growth content because that's what the gurus do. Well, yeah, no, no, oh, fuck, it works because they're literally 500,000 followers and everyone knows them. They can post whatever. So you can't do that. So what you need to do is you need to know what possibilities exist, what type of content types exist, what type of formats exist, and you need to start testing and iterating and playing the content scientist that you need to be able to find content market fit.
Somebody listening to this, and especially somebody listening to take into this advice, could you give us example of some people? Maybe you don't have to give the names or the logos, but great if you can. Tell about how they use such an approach. You have guided them to get from where they were before and where they are right now. What kind of success and some examples can you share?
A good example of someone that never, barely once in a blue moon, 2 people actually that come to mind, that, for example, barely show, any, like, personal content. Once in a while, they will say kind of like, for example, that they were promoted or something, because something I want to be clear with is personal content doesn't mean what my dog taught me about B2B sales. Like, personal content can also be like, I started, I don't know, I had a problem internally with my business, and this is how I solved it, because that's also personal. Like, it's hard to put yourself out there with things that are more human related. Or I'm in this, conference speaking about this, and then I met this person. Like, this is more like personal things in your life. You don't need to talk about your dog, your spouse, your children. You can also do that, which I think is nice because if I care about you, I want to know what's going on with your life. Not every day. Like, please don't. I don't care about single thing that you're doing in your life. Like, please spare me my time. But once in a while, if I know that, I don't know, that person that I follow on LinkedIn that I love their content got married, like, yay, I'll be happy. Like, I'll wanna say, "Congratulations." Like, that's fine. The problem is when it becomes like an Instagram, because LinkedIn is not an Instagram, and I really hope it doesn't become that. But, Personal has a scale. So personal can be like really, 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 really personal. Like I had a fight with my spouse and this is what I learned about. And it's like we don't need to go all the way over there. Personal can also be like, I had this problem with my team members internally, and that's how I solved it, and it still is professional. So I just wanted to clear that out. But for example, someone that barely uses the personal content and uses more of the and doesn't really use much of the conversion content is Lee McKenzie. So he does more growth and authority content, always sharing the latest SEO and AI search visibility tips, um, really long carousels that really show you step by step how to use these tools, how to, in this AI world, how do you build an AI SEO strategy? Then there'll be like hot takes around the industry, like I think that the goal in SEO isn't this, and I think that maybe, I don't know, these people are doing it wrong and this is how it should be done. Because people like psychologically, we like strong opinions, we like hot takes, we like things that are different. There's a phrase that it says different is better than better. So you can be better than your competition, but what is better, right? Like, better in what? But if you're different, you will always capture their attention. So Lee McKenzie does a lot of like growth and authority content. He does it very well because the opinions that are hot, they're hot. And the posts that show authority, that shows step by step, are super detailed. You can literally follow it step by step on how to do something. So Lee McKenzie is a great one in terms of growth and authority. Someone that's a lot more personal is a guy like Matt Barker. So Matt Barker will have a lot more selfies. He'll always show his, like, wife, will like, there's a picture of him, I don't know, like, laying on a couch talking about something, and his content is actually really good. Like, he's not the type of fluffluencer that talks very personal content that just bores you and it's like, "Why do I care?" Like, it's actually entertaining, it's actually educational, it's actually fun. So that's an example of someone that does a personal content mixed with a conversion and authority very well. Um, Anthony Pieri is someone that I honestly admire so much. His content is so good, and he's one of the people that I always look up to in terms of content. He says nothing personal. Like, I don't even know if he has a girlfriend, a wife, a dog, if what problems he's had. I don't know where he's from. Like, I know nothing about this guy. He's never posts anything personal, but his content is so good. Like, he's also very funny. So I think the personal side of Anthony, his personal content, is being funny in my case because I can kind of connect to him because I know he's a funny guy. I know he's kind of like a sarcastic guy because he does a bunch of posts that are like super, I don't know, taking the shit on people that do positioning bad or really hot takes. And that's where he comes in and shows his point of view and his personality. So you can show your personality in so many different ways, either being super personal or either putting in your spice and your differentiator. And then, of course, the last person I have to mention here is my business partner, which is Sara. Sara is really good with authority content. Her carousels are super detailed. She explains step by step how to do things. She is that type of person that is always against the LinkedIn gurus and has really like hot takes and is like unapologetic. So I really love, and I think it's a really good exercise that every person that wants to grow a LinkedIn presence should do, which is researching, inspiring themselves from other people, stealing like an artist. So what can I get from here? What can I get from here? What can I get from here? And create my own masterpiece, my own content masterpiece that is uniquely mine. We're not going to copy exactly word by word what someone else does because then you're actually stealing. Like, be original, like, don't do that. But if you get from one person one idea, from another person another idea, from another person another idea, And you build that, you're building a personalized masterpiece that's unique to yours. And then you will start putting in your own little twists and takes and your own way of doing it. And I think these people, as well as Adam Robinson is another guy, like very big founder that makes a lot of money, and his content is very different as well. He doesn't have that big of a media mentality. He doesn't use carousels as much, designs as much. He uses a lot more video and text. Different to a girl like Sara. Sara barely does video and she does more design. So she does more carousels and one pagers. Again, exactly what I'm saying. You need to play around with content types, content funnel, find your mix to find content market fit.
That's a really good examples that you've shared. That also ties in back to the content market fit and how to arrive at a process. I think these examples are really, exemplify what you just said. How different people have approached the content market fit to build their own narrative, and how each of them are different, but have also achieved this space and becoming popular in LinkedIn. I wanted to touch base on something different next. Um, I heard you talk about 1 million revenue getting over that from LinkedIn for your business through your LinkedIn post. I want to understand, how do you approach LinkedIn to help your customers discover you?
Throughout the years that I've been building a LinkedIn presence, my strategy has evolved. So when I started out, I started with a very growth content mindset. So very broad, very viral. I was getting millions of impressions, hundreds of thousands of impressions, but I really wasn't getting that many conversions. And I didn't know what was wrong with my strategy. And that's when I found out what was wrong with my strategy is that I was putting all my eggs in one of the content types. I wasn't authoritative enough. I wasn't being focused on conversions enough. And so what I started doing is I started focusing more on authoritative content. So, for example, a post like, let's say, the one I did today, it was very, very focused on bringing us newsletter subscribers. It's not a post focused on getting tons of comments and tons of likes because I'm kind of being very specific and showing my authority as someone that's building a newsletter that actually helps marketers, go to marketers, and founders. Um, because I'm saying that literally every 2 weeks, we don't just interview someone, we go step by step, we interrogate them, we question. I show a screenshot of our workflows and how we literally have to build all these workflows to be able to ship to you one issue, like all the work that is behind building one issue. And that type of post at till right now only has like 17 comments. And I knew that it wasn't going to be a growth post. But in the back end of our newsletter, we've had like 15 subscribers in with that just single post. So you kind of have to start playing the game. So like now I know that you need to know what your KPI and what your goal is. So in this case, I have 2 goals right now in my current LinkedIn strategy. All our clients will have different ones and we will build around that. But Diandra Escobar's co-founder of The Workflow and founder of Distinctiva, my 2 goals right now is to get newsletter subscribers where we can start monetizing the newsletter, which we've already gotten a bunch of sponsors that are interested in, and clients for my agency. This newsletter is also in the future probably going to become another agency, and we're going to be able to build on it. We're going to be able to sell and make money out of this newsletter as well, which is like our content media asset that will become an agency in the future. So, those are my 2 goals. So, what do I care more about? Me getting more followers? No. I could try to get to 100,000. Great, that would be amazing. That would make me even look better. But right now my strategy is get newsletter subscribers and get clients. So I build more on the authority type of content. Again, I don't let go completely of the growth because that's the thing. If you let go of one of the other funnels, you're going to start losing things that are also important. If I talk about LinkedIn, I have to show that at least I get comments and reactions and stuff once in a while, or else I'm going to look like a scammer. It's like, why doesn't your LinkedIn look big? It's like, so you have to play around with that depending on your objective at the moment. And that's literally how I started actually making real money out of LinkedIn. And you might look at the difference and might be like, oh, but Deandra, before you were getting like 100,000 impressions and 100 plus comments. And I'm like, yeah, but I didn't have money in the bank in that moment. So I think it was more when I started actually learning to play around with the funnel in the right way.
So you're saying most of these popular so-called posts in LinkedIn that gather 700 likes or 300 comments are not actually translating into actual conversion topics, conversions for their revenue pipeline, because they are more focused into getting the virality of the post and than into actually getting into the what's useful for the business, right?
100% because if you think of it logically, a post that is easy to comment on is one of two things. It's so basic and broad that anyone can comment something, so that's why you have more comments. Or it's such a good hot take and it's such a controversial thing that people are pissed off with you and they wanna comment and they wanna say that you're wrong. Or it's something that people wanna celebrate. Usually it's those 3 things. Because if it's easy to let's say, I just started a new business," celebration post. Of course, people are gonna wanna comment, or, "Look at me, this is my story, and this is how I managed to be a broke-ass person living in a studio, and now I'm rich and millionaire." Those things, again, I'm not saying they're wrong. I love storytelling posts, but the problem with what a lot of LinkedIn gurus tell you today is that they're gonna tell you that you have to base your whole strategy on that. But that is so, so surface level. No one is going to 100% believe in what you do, want to buy from you, remember you because it was just something that was easy for them to comment. Oh, congratulations, clap emoji. Or what the hell is wrong with you? This is wrong. I don't believe in that, which those are good. If you're actually being controversial about something that you believe in, love the hot takes because they're both growth and authority mixed into one. So you're getting viral because people want to smack the hell out of you. And two, you're being authoritative because you're showing that you have different thoughts and that you're teaching people how to do it. You can't always be a hater because people don't like haters and if you're always trying to hate to be able to get viral, then I don't like you either. But I think those are usually the 3 things that happen and why posts are easy to get a lot of comments from, and not necessarily do those translate in money, because it's so surface and people won't keep you in their mind. So, I'm not saying don't do it again, because we need to play growth plays, we need to play reach plays, but you also need to make sure you're actually showing why would you wanna hire my agency to do this?
Getting people to discover you as a business in LinkedIn, do you have any SEO related frameworks that you have translated and brought it on to LinkedIn, like keyword research or something around that could help a business?
Yeah, 100%. I'm huge on SEO. I mean, I come from an SEO background. I started creating content on LinkedIn about SEO. I worked at an SEO agency. I know some of the biggest players and industry players of SEO within LinkedIn. I know enough SEO to be dangerous. I'm not an SEO, but our all of our content strategies are around that. And especially today's SEO, which is more of a search everywhere optimization, how they call it, which is it's a lot more of omni-channel and multi-channel because now AI platforms and LLMs are extracting from everywhere, from different platforms, not only from the blogs, the top ranking, so YouTube is becoming huge. One thing that I posted about, which SEMrush did a 3-month study, is that like the amount of SEO plays that you can work on and do strategically through LinkedIn is immense, as well as YouTube. YouTube is one of their biggest sources as well. And Reddit. Reddit is another great marketing it's a great marketing game that you shouldn't really think about it as marketing because you should really think about it as community wanting to respond to comments because that's what Reddit is made for. But if you're a smart enough marketer that actually cares, you could really build a good Reddit strategy. So My tips for the viewers is LinkedIn. One can also be sometimes a search engine because I've had clients now that pay us $20,000 a month that found me not through my organic content, which is literally what I preach. I literally preach organic. They found me through a LinkedIn search. And LinkedIn's search bar is the worst. Like it's so hard to find something there when you're looking for it. And still, they found me through either a Google search and then my profile appeared or through a LinkedIn search. So one, it is kind of like a search engine because sometimes people put in specific keywords and they find you. So that's why for that to happen, you need to have a few LinkedIn SEO plays in game. So first, you need to make sure that your keywords are in your headline. You need to make sure that your keywords are in your about section. You need to make sure that your keywords are in your services section. The problem with the services section is that LinkedIn only gives you predetermined keywords that exist. You can't personalize the keywords, so you have to choose from the list they have, but they have a lot of options, so maybe you'll find your specific keywords. And I would put your keywords inside your posts. Those are super important for LinkedIn SEO, for AI SEO when they extract from LinkedIn, and it's also really good for the algorithm because the latest algorithm, report that came out from one of the engineers within LinkedIn says that they're thinking a lot more of topical authority than anything else. So, they're gonna show you to the people they think would like your content according to the keywords and the things that they like the most. So, if I'm always talking about content, marketing, LinkedIn, all of that, I should always make sure to apply these keywords so that I appear more to the people that are looking for this, that I appear in a Google search, that I appear in a LinkedIn search, that I appear on AI. So those are some of the tips. LinkedIn newsletters are actually widely underrated. So we've been able to get clients to rank number 1 on Google with LinkedIn newsletters, which would have been impossible with blogs because they didn't have enough topical authority, their site wasn't old enough, all of the, like, traditional SEO, things that they would have needed, they didn't have, and we got them ranking with the LinkedIn newsletter. Another thing that is very important is to make sure that your carousels have the keywords as well when you name them, because you can name your carousel, there's, like, a little name on the top, and to put alt text in your images. So explain to machines what the image is about because they can't read what the image is about. And maybe most of the most important information is inside the image. So changing that alt text gives you that advantage. Again, it's all about as well. You can do search market research so you can understand what keywords people are looking for and let it guide your LinkedIn strategy, not only just your blog, because your audience has the same problems, whether they're on Google, LinkedIn, or email. You got to speak their language, keep the same narrative across all channels because search everywhere optimization is a thing. Like now AI is pulling from LinkedIn, YouTube, Reddit, podcast, newsletters. You need to show up everywhere your ICP is searching.
How does YouTube play in the mix for B2B agencies and brands? Uh, because already they are doing so much. They're performance marketing, they are into SEO, and then now LinkedIn thought leadership, and it becomes too stretched. Now we also have to, should we really get into YouTube or can we skip it and focus on the other channels?
If I was in paid consulting, I could give you a response to that because I would have what your ICP is, what your goals are, what your resources, what your budget. That's super personalized, but we're in a podcast, so we got to give something useful. So, does YouTube fit in your mix? We know that every response in marketing is it depends. But let's not say it depends because everyone hates that response. I do as well because like, come on, give me something. So, YouTube in this case, I think is extremely, extremely, extremely valuable, especially today. Why? Because AI is making our life more difficult, for example, on LinkedIn and stuff like that, because there's so many AI bots and there's so much content that's just looks like it was a vomit from ChatGPT and is not useful, but something that still until AI avatars become a thing, and then I don't know what the hell is gonna happen, but YouTube is still a space where someone is spending 15 to 20 minutes with you. That is so valuable because think about someone that's on LinkedIn. They're scrolling. They've seen you once. Well, yeah, the dog is barking, the baby's crying, the food is almost ready, my wife is pissed at me, my husband is annoying me. Like, there's so many things that are happening in our life. Maybe they don't even remember that post that they saw about you. You have to post a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot to get into people's attention. Like, to actually capture someone's attention and be like, hey, someone might have to see you 10, 20, 30, 50 times in their feed before they actually know that say like, "Oh, I'm ready to buy. I want to book a call with this person. I want to explore their services." But with but with YouTube, they're spending so much time with you that they've heard your voice, they've heard about your strategy for 15 to 20 minutes long. The conversion rates on YouTube are so high and absolutely love YouTube. And we're building YouTube strategies for our clients. I'm going to start building my own channel as well because it's so much more convincing. It's like instead of just seeing someone's 90-second reel, 90-second video on LinkedIn in this case, you're literally like if you were sitting on a coffee chat with this person because you're listening to them for 15 to 20 minutes yap about something. So, conversion rates are so much better there because people feel more connected to you, they are more convinced, and they got to see more of you, and if they were willing to spend that amount of time is that you've captured their attention. How somehow you were able to maintain that attention. And then second, it's a great SEO play as well. So if someone is searching how to in my case, I build LinkedIn strategies, newsletter strategies, and YouTube strategies. And we have an agency that does everything for you: video editing, ghostwriting, design, et cetera, et cetera. So I want someone that is asking for how to grow on LinkedIn in 2026, to find my YouTube video, to listen to my strategies and my way of thinking and being convinced by, like, oh, I think what Deandra offers makes sense. I believe in her. I'm going to book a call. So I've hosted a channel, of Heyreach, so I've gotten clients from a channel that is not even mine. I hosted that channel, I helped them out build it, and I got a few clients, and the conversion rate of the clients that were coming through YouTube versus a lot of the ones that were coming from LinkedIn were so much more high quality and were so much more convinced already that I didn't really need to do much convincing. So that's my opinion on YouTube. I think it is extremely, extremely, extremely useful, but again, it really just depends. Maybe your industry, it's not.
You are big on workflows. You run a newsletter around workflows, and you also use AI around that for your workflows. Could you talk about why did you start this newsletter and why is AI workflows becoming a new thing?
We created the newsletter to cut through the amount of fluff that exists around AI and automation, especially in the marketing world, because CMOs of huge companies, which I find extremely insane, come out there and create a post just because it's more viral. Like, I just built 40 AI agents and this can replace your whole marketing team. Like, come on, bro. Like, no, it can't. What do you mean? Like, how can 40 AI agents replace your whole marketing team? That I've never seen that happen. We've already interviewed some of the biggest leaders within the space and none of them have actually been able to replace their marketing team with AI. Like, that's not possible. Can you be more efficient? Are there extremely useful workflows with AI and automation that exist? Well, yes, of course. The best marketers have used them. But what we wanted to do is we really wanted to be that source of truth within the go to market and AI marketing world where you can actually find workflows that people are actually using and that are helpful, that isn't 10 tools that will change your life hype thread. Real system, battle tested by people who've done the work. That's exactly what my post today was about because we don't just interview the person, tell ChatGPT, "Hey, spin out a an issue about it," and that's it. We interrogate this person. Like, we literally are like devil's advocate because we're like, "Why did you use that tool? And why aren't you using this? And this is more efficient, but why would you do that?" And we question them to anticipate any of our audience's doubts. We untangle it because sometimes it can be very confusing to understand these things. So we really sit down. How can we copyright this in the best way so people actually understand it? We map out every single step. We show every single tool, every single prompt that you can actually use to build yourself through it. So that's why we built it because it came through a pain of ours that we were tired of not finding realistic workflows, just viral people saying things that people are like, "Oh wow, how did you do that?" But in reality, who knows if it actually was helpful? There's no context. Will it be helpful for me? Do I need this? Sometimes automations can be an overkill in AI in your workflows.
For somebody looking to get to know more about the workflows, I will link your newsletter in the show notes. I'd like to move it more discussion to the last final session of our podcast, which is our bullet round of questions. First is, what are some of the books that you're gifted around the most, or is something that you will highly recommend?
It has nothing to do with marketing, but I would recommend Inner Engineering by Sadhguru. Honestly, best book I've ever read in my entire life, like, changed my life. Um, I really think that a lot of us should do a lot more inner engineering instead of trying to engineer everything outside of ourselves because things will be so much better. So very yogi, thought there, but if you're like, "Yeah, this is woo-woo and fluff," and maybe you can manifest a business that will make $1,000,000. But, okay, let's say we don't like these fluffy woo-woo things, let's not read that book. A book I really like that's super short, easy to read, you can literally read it, like, in a day, probably, is Steal Like an Artist. I think that's very good for creative strategies, content strategies. Atomic Habits I really like, Thinking Fast and Slow. So any psychology book that is more less marketing, but really more about how the human brain works, I think could give you so much more insights than any marketing book could ever. But that's just my maybe it's a hot take, I don't know.
Is there any recent movie or show that has become your favorite of them all?
I'm not a huge movie girl or TV show girl, but I am a huge YouTube girl, so I see a lot of YouTube channels. So my favorite channel out there, again, I'm super into psychology, mindset, more yogi things. So if you ask me these things, I probably won't give you many business or marketing books. Is Dr. K's channel. His channel is called Healthy Gamer, and his audience is actually gamers. But the things that man says are so insightful for anyone. Like, he trained for a monk, and then he went to Harvard School and studied psychology, and then something else, a psychiatrist or whatever. So he combines the Eastern and the Western mindsets of behind psychology, and that's my favorite YouTube channel.
I know you use a lot of software products, and you mentioned them in your newsletter as well. Is there any are there any top three that comes to you as your favorites?
Notion, Claude, and Slack. Can't live without those 3.
Yeah. This time I'm going to ask about agency leaders you are inspired by or you follow.
Jake Ward really inspires me because he built an SEO agency all through LinkedIn. His content has made him tons of money. He's now building tools. So not only does he have this agency, but he also has 2 SaaS tools that are hitting in like 90 days 60K MRR, et cetera, et cetera. So I really admire him, Jake Ward, and Rob Huffman. They are both co-founders of the same agency, and they post on LinkedIn as well. So it's a good way to see how LinkedIn built an agency for these people and have such amazing numbers and followers and growth and all of that.
The last question that I have for you is, and I'm also expecting something interesting. So far, the answers have been really interesting, especially the inner engineering part. Uh,
Yeah, same.
Even
Better than
that's
marketing.
something even I've read through. Yeah.
Let's not talk about
Uh,
marketing, let's talk about inner engineering.
the last question that I wanted to ask you is there a life motto that you live by, and how do you rise up during tough times and you think back, be optimistic and move forward during tough times?
Yeah, I think a lot of my mental models have come through these both like the Healthy Gamers channel, the psychologist channels that I watch on YouTube, the inner engineering program I did with this famous yogi called Sadhguru, the book I read. And one thing that really resonates with me that this guru called Sadhguru talks about is that we all are responsible. And what he says responsibility is, it's the ability to respond. It's not the I am responsible for everything and I have to take your burden. So a great example that he gives is someone within your company does something wrong, right? A colleague of yours makes a mistake, there's a problem within the agency, one of the clients are mad, we need to solve this fast. If you're a person that thinks of responsibility in the wrong way, you are going to say, "Oh no, that's his responsibility. I don't care. I'm not going to do that. That's not my burden." But responsibility isn't that. It's not that you have to carry this person's burden and say like, "Oh, he made a mistake. Now I'm going to take this burden." Responsibility is that you know that you as an individual have the capacity, the competence, the desire, the energy to respond to something. You have the ability to respond. So you're going to come in and you're going to solve this problem. Okay, my colleague fucked it up. Let me come in and see how I can help him and how I can do things and how I can talk to the client and how I can talk to my manager and how I can talk to the CEO to solve this problem. When you live with that mindset that you always have the ability to respond in any of the situations that happen to you, either they're bad or good, your life changes completely. Your agency grows. If your role within the agency grows, your life. So your spouse did something wrong, right? You fucked up. You're mad. Oh, nah, that's his responsibility. Like I'm not gonna do that. Like when we live like that and we don't live a life saying I have the ability to respond, I will respond, everything changes. You start doing more. The people around you also want to do more because you're always giving more. And who doesn't want to give more to someone that is always giving? And it just becomes an abundance mindset. And if we all lived that way and we all knew that we have the ability to respond and do stuff, business, love wise, money wise, whatever wise you want to call it, we'd all be so much better.
I really thought that was going to be simple, but such a tightly packed wisdom in that words that you just said. Be responsible, and you have that opportunity to respond to anything. That was really insightful, and you know, thank you for teaching that. Finally, are there any final thoughts that we have missed to cover that you want to share with folks here today?
There's only enough time and, attention span for the people out there. I try to create the most valuable content I can through LinkedIn. So maybe something I missed here that there are a million things that I could talk about in different ways, in different contexts, right? They will be able to find value through LinkedIn. So maybe my content can give them more insights than what I can do in just like an hour. Like I said, I'm also building a YouTube channel, so when that's out, probably you'll be able to find me just by my name, so you'll be able to hear me yap for 15 to 20 minutes in a more concrete, well-edited way. But other than that, I wouldn't speak about more things because this might be way too long, but, yeah, I hope it was useful in some way.
Yeah, it was really useful. I think we covered on a lot of the topics that I wanted to go deep on. And thank you so much for coming to the show, Deandra. It was lovely having you, and thank you for taking the time.